Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Sukkah. We are up to Perek Gimel Mishnah Hey. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Aranbayev, and Eliyahu ben Burchai Israelov, Menuchatam beGan Eden, Amen, and Lavdi ben Chaim l'Chaim for the Refuah Shlema of Bacha bat Esther betoch Shah Cholei Israel. This Mishnah teaches what disqualifies an etrog. The Mishnah begins, Etrog Gazul Vayavesh Pasul, a stolen etrog or a dry one is invalid. Shel Ashera v'shel Ir Anidachat Pasul, an etrog v'nashera or a subverted city is invalid. We spoke about in the early Mishnayot what these disqualifications are and why they are a disqualifying factor by a lulav, by a das, by an arava, and by an etrog. The following two disqualifications apply specifically to an etrog because it is an edible food. Shel orla pasul. An etrog of orla is invalid because it may not be eaten. Orla is the fruit of a tree that is within its first 3 years, and having benefit from such fruit is biblically forbidden. Shel tiruma tmea pasul. An etrog of tiruma that is tameh, impure, is invalid for the same reason. Now, tiruma is one of the portions that have to be separated from produce grown in Eretz Israel. It must be given to a kohen and be eaten only by kohanim and the members of their households. If it became tameh, impure, it may not be eaten by anyone. Now, it is derived from a verse in the Torah that the 4 species are not valid for the mitzvah unless they are fit to be used in the usual way. Therefore, the etrog, which is normally eaten, is valid only if eating it is permitted. So for this reason, an etrog of orla and an etrog of tiruma that is tameh are disqualified since they may not be eaten, as Rashi explains on page 35a in Masechet Sukkah. 3 more cases involving an etrog. Shel tiruma teora, an etrog of tiruma that is tahor, pure, lo yitol, one should not take it, meaning perform the mitzvah with it, because he might make it capable of becoming tameh, which is prohibited. The Torah obligates us to protect tiruma from becoming tameh, impure. The rabbis therefore prohibited using an etrog of tiruma for the mitzvah because water from the lulav, which was kept in water to maintain its freshness, might drip on it, which would make it capable of becoming tameh. Produce cannot become tameh unless it was first moistened with water or one of certain other liquids. Vim natal kasher, but if he took it, it is valid. Now, an etrog that is tiruma is considered fit to be eaten because it is permitted to a kohen, the Rav explains. Shel demai, an etrog of demai. Now, demai is produce of Eretz Israel obtained from an unlearned person in Amaretz. It might be tevel, produce from which tiruma or maaser has not been separated, because some Amaretz did not separate maaser. So to prevent people from possibly eating tevel, which is a biblical transgression, the rabbis decreed that one must remove maaser from demai before eating it. Under biblical law, demai is permitted in any event because most Amaretz do separate maaser from their produce. So again, an etrog of demai, Bet Shammai puslin. Bet Shammai ruled that it is invalid because they hold that demai may not be eaten by anyone. The Gemara explains on page 35b Masechet Sukkah their opinion. Bet Hillel machshirin, but Bet Hillel ruled that it is valid because in their opinion, demai may be eaten by a poor person since poor people are allowed to eat demai without tithing it first. The Rav explains that an etrog of demai is fit to be eaten according to Bet Hillel. Shel maaser sheni b'Yerushalayim, an etrog of maaser sheni inside Yerushalayim. Maaser sheni is another of the portions that must be separated from produce grown in Eretz Israel. The owner is required to eat it in Yerushalayim or exchange it for money, which he takes to Yerushalayim and uses to buy food to be eaten there. So, Shel Maaser Sheni b'Yerushalayim, and a etrog of Maaser Sheni inside Yerushalayim, lo yitol, one should not take it because he might make it capable of becoming tameh, which is prohibited. Now, the law that we said earlier applies not only to tiruma but to Maaser Sheni as well, and in fact, one is prohibited to use an etrog of Maaser Sheni for the mitzvah, even outside of Yerushalayim, for fear that he will make it capable of becoming tameh. The Mishnah mentions Yerushalayim only because of the law that follows. Vim natal kasher. But if he took it, it is valid. Now, the Rav explains an etrog of Maaser Sheni is valid for the mitzvah only inside Yerushalayim, where it may be eaten. Outside Yerushalayim, where Maaser Sheni is forbidden to everyone, the etrog would be invalid. And that is in the Mishnah Hey. Mishnah Vav now lists additional cases in which an etrog is disqualified. The Mishnah begins, Alta chazazit al rubo. If a chazazit, a deformity that looks like a cluster of small blisters, arose on most of an etrog, now such an etrog is disqualified, the Mishnah is going to explain, because it does not meet the halachic standard of hadar, beauty. Now the Mishnah refers to a single chazazit. If there is a chazazit in 2 or 3 places, the etrog is invalid, even if they cover only a minority of the surface, because the spotted appearance of such an etrog takes away its beauty, the Rav explains. So again, alta chazazit al rubo, If a chazazit arose on most of an etrog, nitelat pitmato, or its pitam, the protrusion at the top of the fruit was removed. Now that would be in diagram brought in note 2 in the article elucidated, meaning the etrog grew with the pitam that was later removed. That's what the Mishnah is going to disqualify. If, however, it never had a pitam, it is valid without one, as the Maran explains in Shulchan Aruch, his posek, in Orach Chaim, chapter 648, Halacha 7. Now, an etrog whose pitam was removed, the Mishnah Berurah explains, lacks beauty. That's why the Mishnah will invalidate it. Niklaf, the Mishnah continues, or its skin, the thin outer membrane, was entirely peeled off. Even if only the outer membrane was removed and the yellow skin of the etrog remains intact, the Rav explains it is invalid. Without the protective membrane, it will soon dry or rot. Such an etrog is already considered not to possess beauty. But if some of the membrane remains, the etrog is valid because it will heal. As Tosfot explained on page 36a in Masechet Sukkah, the Mishnah continues, nisdak, or it was split. Now, just to explain on the previous point, if even part of the thick layer of the skin was removed and the inner white flesh of the etrog shows, the etrog is invalid because it is deficient chaser. Continuing, nisdak, or it was split, meaning the thick skin of the etrog is split all the way down one side, according to the first print of Ramadan and Shulchan Aruch and Orach Chaim, chapter 648 and Halacha 5. Even though no part of the etrog is actually missing, it is invalid because it is considered deficient. Nikav v'chaser kol shu, or it has a hole and the slightest amount of the etrog is missing. Here too, the reason for the disqualification is that the etrog is deficient. The Mishnah refers to a hole that does not go all the way through the etrog. If it does go all the way through, it would disqualify the etrog, even if no part of the etrog is missing. For example, it was pierced with a needle. The Mishnah says pasul. All these cases invalidate the etrog. The Mishnah turns to cases in which an etrog, though flawed, is valid. Alta chazazit al mi'uto. If a chazazit arose on less than half of it, again, the chazazit was a deformity that looks like a cluster of small blisters. If it only arose on less than half of it, nital ukso, or its stem at the bottom where it was attached to the tree was removed, nikav v'lo chasar kolshu, or it has a hole but nothing is missing, kasher, it is valid. Now the Mishnah refers to a hole that is not wider than an isar, a coin of the times that was about 1.2 inches or 3 centimeters wide. If it is wider than an isar, it disqualifies the etrog even if nothing is missing, meaning the skin was merely pushed in and the hole does not go all the way through. The Mishnah discusses an etrog that is not yellow but another color. Etrog akushi pasul. A black etrog is invalid. Now this law applies only in places where black etrogim are uncommon. In a region where black is a normal color for etrogim, such an etrog is valid because it does not lack beauty there. Vahayarok kekarti. And this is the law of one that is green like a leek, similar to the color of grass, a dark green. Rabbi Meir machshir. Rabbi Meir rules that it is valid. Rabbi Yehuda posel. But Rabbi Yehuda rules that it is invalid because it is not fully developed. However, if the etrog is a type that normally changes from green to yellow, as in the case with our etrogim, it may be used even when it is still green, because etrogim of this type are fully developed even at that stage. And the Rav says the halacha follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir. And the Rav does point out, v'chol hani psulim biyom tov rishon. All these psulim apply only to the first day of Sukkot. But starting from the second day of Yom Tov and the rest of the days, akol kasher, all these invalidations would be kasher. That is in Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.